What's up, Desire family? My name is Desiree and welcome to my channel. Yes, I know, I'm late. I get it. I should have had a YouTube channel from before. I was nervous, I was shy, still am. But at this point it's 2020 and life is so short, I figured if I don't do it now, it's never gonna happen. So, if you like what you see, click that subscribe button, click that like, and make sure you tell all your friends because I'm gonna need your support. Like I really am, I'm gonna need your support to keep this going. Anyways, so today's video I just wanted to jump on here and talk to you guys about how I paid off $45,000 in 6 months during a pandemic. Yes, I'm gonna tell you from now, it was hard. And I remember the night when I paid it off and I literally called my sister and I think I was crying. And she actually laughed at me. Like, who does that? My sister laughed at me because I was crying. She's like, are you crying? I was like, I just paid off $45,000. She's like, sister, get off my phone. Just a backstory. Okay, don't tell her I told you. Anyways, so I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about how I got there and then just steps and like the steps and tips I took to get it completely paid off. Again, I did it in a really quick amount. I don't expect anybody to do this. Do it at your own pace. Like, build this out. Don't stress yourself out if you don't have to. Find what works for you. But yeah, just don't feel pressured by, society or this video or anything of that nature. I'm just putting it out there to inspire you any way I can. So basically, long story short, I found myself in debt. It was January. I had to sit down and really, sit with myself and be like, okay, I can no longer just overlook this debt. I noticed my biggest problem, or that a lot of people don't realize, is your interest. So technically on what was, let's say, $40,000 worth of debt, I was getting charged about $400, $500, sometimes $600 a month in interest. So if I'm dropping $1,000 to pay down my debt and $600 of it is just going on the interest, I was not moving. Like, I would just keep dropping money and I was like, this is not moving. I don't know what I'm doing right now. And I had to really sit down and be like, okay, no, this needs to go. Like, this is not helping. This is not making me get anywhere. I'm not feeling good about it. And, as much as you want to, celebrate, and you want to party, and you want to have fun, and you want to go out, this thing is still at the back of your mind. It's still on your shoulders, right? So, I made my goal. I said, okay, I was going to pay off my debt by 2020. It was over. I did not expect to pay it off in 6 months. But I did. And I will tell you how. So to begin, I do have multiple streams of income. So that was my first pro. Okay, so that was step one. I have my 9-to-5 salary job, and then I have my full-time, what is kind of like full-time hours, working for my company, which is a digital agency. So off the bat, my full-time was obviously covering, my monthly expenses, which was my rent, any bills, any my food and all that stuff. And it also kind of helped with any travels because I was traveling at this point almost every 3 weeks. And that helped with that situation. Keep in mind now, if I substituted the travel and, I didn't Uber as much and didn't do all those extra stuff, it probably would have paid off even faster because I was able to just allocate that money there. But I didn't want to just stop my life completely. In regards to my full-time company, anything I made went directly onto my debt. It was a no-brainer. So you have to understand, though, it sounds crazy. It was a little crazy, but you can do it. It's not impossible, and that's one thing I want anybody to watch it who's watching this video to take it away from. It is not impossible to pay off your debt at such a quick pace. You are going to have to make sacrifices. You may pull a few late nights. In my case, I pulled a lot of them. Something I would never recommend people doing, but there were nights where I was drained because I would do a 40-hour work week, sometimes longer. Then I would be doing my client work. Then on weekends I was shooting all day, and it would be like a 8 to 12-hour day of shooting. Then I'd come home and I would edit the images, and I would build websites, and I would do graphics, and then it was like this, right? So you have to understand that you will be jeopardizing sometimes partying, sometimes hanging out with friends to get this goal done. So that was the first thing. Second of all, you have to understand finances. Now, I'm just gonna be honest. I was the worst at this. Also now, like I was the worst. Thankfully, I had someone who helped me build out a financial plan, and it was a tracker, and it's something I had used quite often actually to really help just make me figure out where my money was going. I will put a link to the financial tracker if you are interested in getting a copy. But that was a major first step because you're looking and you have to sit with what you're spending. And that was one thing I had ignored for many, many years. It was having to actually sit down and be like, okay, this is how much I'm spending every month. This is how much I'm making. Like I never liked doing that. I'm very ashamed to say this because it sounds horrible, but I didn't like doing it. So this really had to lock me. It's like looking at my financial tracker, it was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call. And I am not proud to say it, but I had some crazy, crazy months where I was spending, I don't even know, like $600, $700, $800, sometimes $900 on just food and groceries and like eating out at restaurants, and like, this is really bad now that I'm thinking about it. But it was not something I was proud of, but I also would not have seen it had I not sat down and done that. So that's something you're gonna have to do. You're gonna have to sit down and really find a balance. You know, if it's a 50-30-20 rule, where 50% is going to your needs, 30% is going to your wants, and then 20% is going to your savings. You could take that savings and put that on your debt and build it out that way. Another thing is if you take that 30% want, you could also put that to your debt. That's another thing you could do. I can have another video strictly on what the 50-30-20 rule is if you are unaware of it. That is something I could do separately. But for this video, I'm just going to share a little bit more about how I got mine done. So that was something I did as well. Another major thing I did was, so I had my credit card and I had my line of credit. You need to know what your interest rate is on each, because what I was realizing was if I'm paying off my line of credit first, the line of credit had an interest rate of about, I want to say 9%, whereas my credit card had an interest rate of 19%. So what I would do, and what I did often, was I would cycle the money. So if I had, certain days where I had to pay something, I would pay off the line of credit first and then pay the line of credit to pay off my credit card. So that way, even if it's sitting on my line of credit, it's still cheaper in the interest rate. So that was something I did so often. It was so bad. So like if I had dropped like, let's say 5,000 or 10,000 on my line of credit, I was like, cool. And I would then pay the credit card with the line of credit. That way, that credit card was paid off first. You always want to pay off the higher interest rate debt first. That was a tongue twister. So that is something I did. Of course, in my case, so January, February, March, I was doing absolutely well with the payment, and then of course the pandemic hit. And it definitely had its pros, because in my case, my traveling had stopped because the borders were closed. So my traveling stopped. Going out was not something I was doing as often because, of course, the whole world is basically locked in. And the downfall, though, was my photography business stopped as well. So this is where I really had to pivot. I really had to figure out what my skill sets were and where I could alter my business. And that's when I started just offering a lot more other services. But all that went right on to the debt as well. So from March to June, those were my largest payments. And another thing that did help me was from January to March, I was accumulating a savings. So please keep in mind, there was no savings prior to this that I had used on my debt. So this was everything that I had made from January to June. I had this thing where, and this is just my opinion, there are people who always say, you want cash is king and have that in your account. I was very different. I was like, I'm losing cash because if I'm keeping my cash in my savings and I'm getting charged $600 on interest, I'm really, really losing. So from January to March, with the savings that I had accumulated, I had taken that and put that whole thing on my credit card. I just remember the pain. I'm still thinking about it. I think one thing too, I'm going to be honest with you, to whoever's watching this, it is going to be a rough period because you're going to feel like you are doing so much. You are going to feel tired. You are going to feel drained. And you almost feel like you don't see it physically because your money is just like getting thrown into like a dark hole. And I think for me, that was the part that made this process the hardest. Not the losing of the money, but that process of feeling so tired and drained with all the extra work I was doing and not being able to physically see the fruits of the labor. Like it's like you're cleaning up your mistakes at this point, right? So to anybody who is in their debt journey, it is going to be challenging. You're going to do that, but you're going to make it. You'll be fine. It's only going to be temporary. But just know there are going to be moments where you just literally feel like giving up. You probably will have a few nights where you break down. I know I definitely did. But one of the biggest things that also helped me get to that point was having a support system. Having people who understood the vision, who understood what my goal was, who, if I said, hey, I couldn't come out tonight, they were open to, either adjusting the plans or having a night in or just understanding. Because I think when you are surrounded by people who have different goals, and let's say they may not be in debt and they may want to go out and celebrate and have a party and, do dinner and drink. But if you know you have this debt that you need to pay off and that's not in your budget, you need to be okay with saying that, and your support system needs to be there to support you. If they don't support you in this moment, you may need to step back and just focus on it by yourself or find someone who will support you. But don't take it personal. Like, you just understand that everybody is doing their own paths. Everyone is going through their own things. Not everyone's going to be able to align or understand what you're doing. Some people will call you crazy. I saw a lot of negative feedback when I put my post up. People saying that was impossible. How did I do it? And I was like, nothing's impossible. There is nothing that's impossible. There was a lot of sacrifice that was made for it to work.